The night was heavy with silence. Smoke drifted through the air, and the ground still glowed in places where fire had touched it hours before. A human soldier walked slowly, his boots pressing into the dust. His weapon hung at his side, ready, but not raised. He was tired, his breath uneven, but his eyes kept searching the shadows. He had been told no one was left here, yet something inside him whispered that the place was not empty. He paused, a faint sound reached him. It was soft, almost like the wind. At first, he thought it was only the broken earth groaning under its own weight, but then it came again. A whisper, a voice. He turned toward a pile of fallen stone and broken metal. His eyes narrowed. There, in the dim light, he saw her, an alien woman, crouched low, her body trembling. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dark, and her eyes glowed. With a strange, gentle light, she looked weak, but her gaze was steady, locked on him with both fear and hope. Slowly, she lifted her hands, palms open, showing she carried nothing. Her lips moved, and the whisper reached him again. "Don't kill me, human, spare me, and I'll give you a family you never had." The soldier froze where he stood, his breath caught in his throat. His mind tried to hold on to his orders, the rules he had lived by, but the words she had spoken pulled at something deeper inside him. Family. Why would she speak of family? What could she know of such a thing? For a long moment, neither of them moved. The soldier's hands tightened on his weapon. He told himself it could be a trick. Maybe she was waiting for him to lower his guard. But the way she looked at him was not the way of an enemy. There was no hate in her eyes, only fear, and something else. He took a cautious step closer, his voice low and steady. "Why would you say that?" The alien woman lowered her gaze. Her shoulders shook, and when she spoke again, her voice was even softer, almost breaking. "Because I know you are alone. I can see it in your eyes." She lifted her head just enough to meet his stare once more. "I have lost everything. You have lost too. Let me live, and I will be the family you are missing." Her words cut into him deeper than any wound ever could. He thought of his past, of the home that no longer existed, of the empty nights when silence was his only companion. He had never spoken of it to anyone, but here was an alien, a stranger, saying the very thing his heart tried to bury. He should have turned away. He should have walked back and reported what he had found. That was the simple path. That was the safe path. But something held him still. The way her voice trembled, the way she seemed ready to break but still found the strength to beg, it stirred something he had not felt in a very long time. The soldier looked around. The area was quiet, but he knew his squad could be nearby. If they found her, she would not survive. His chest tightened at the thought. He told himself again it was none of his concern, that she was not his responsibility. And yet, his feet did not move away. Instead, he stepped even closer. The alien woman watched him carefully. When she saw that he had not raised his weapon again, a flicker of relief passed over her face. Her glowing eyes softened, and her lips curved into the smallest of smiles. It was not joy, not even safety, but simply a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, she would see another sunrise. The soldier felt his thoughts clash inside him. He had been trained to see her kind as the other side, but right now, she looked nothing like the enemy. She looked like someone who had lost more than she could carry, someone standing on the edge of despair. "Why me?" he whispered before he realized he had spoken aloud. Her head tilted slightly, her eyes steady on him. "Because you stopped," she said. "Because you listened. No one else would have." The soldier swallowed hard. His hand trembled against his weapon, but he did not lift it. For reasons he could not explain, he lowered it slowly, letting the barrel point to the ground. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths as he studied her. He wanted to believe her words, yet doubt still burned in him. The alien woman leaned forward just enough that her whisper reached him clearly again. "I have no power, no place to go. All I have is this, a promise. If you let me live, I will give you what you have always wanted." The soldier did not answer. His heart beat loudly in his ears. He knew he stood at a crossroad, one that could change everything. And in that silent night, with the broken world around them, a human and an alien stared at each other, caught between fear and trust. Between duty and something far greater, the soldier's grip loosened on his weapon, and in that fragile moment, the first thread of an impossible bond was formed. The soldier could not sleep that night. Even though the battlefield was quiet, his mind was loud with questions. He sat near the fading fire, staring at the dark horizon, but his thoughts always returned to her, the alien woman hiding only a short distance away. He had not turned her in. He had not raised his weapon against her. Instead, he had let her stay hidden. That choice pressed heavy on his chest. He remembered the way she had looked at him, her glowing eyes full of fear, but also filled with something else, something fragile, like trust. He had never seen an enemy look that way. He had seen anger, pride, even coldness, but never a plea for family. The word itself echoed in him, family. It was a word he had tried to forget, because remembering it only brought pain. Yet now it had returned, spoken by the very one he was supposed to see as an outsider. When dawn's light touched the sky, he rose and walked quietly to where she was hidden. She was awake, her thin frame trembling as if the night had been colder. For her than for him, her eyes met his, and she whispered a greeting, soft and careful, as though she feared even her own voice might push him away. "You stayed," she said gently. Almost surprised, he nodded. "I stayed." His own words felt strange. He wanted to ask her many things, but the questions tangled inside him. Instead, he only asked, "Why should I trust you?" Her gaze lowered, and her fingers pressed into the earth as if she was holding on to it to keep herself steady. "Because I have nothing left. If I wanted to harm you, I would not be here like this. I would not beg." She raised her head slowly. "I speak of family because I know the emptiness. I see it in your face, and because I have lost mine, I know the weight you carry too." He studied her carefully. He wanted to doubt her. It would have been easier if she had looked like a liar, if her words had been sharp and clever. But there was no cleverness in her tone, no trick in her eyes, only truth, or at least something that looked too much like truth to ignore. He sighed, sitting down a short distance from her. "You don't even know me." "Maybe not," she answered softly. "But loneliness is the same for everyone. I know its sound, its silence, its shadow. I see it in you." The soldier pressed his hands together, feeling the old ache rise inside. Loneliness. She had named it well. It had been his companion for too long, a shadow that never left. He thought he had grown used to it, thought it was safer to live without ties, but hearing her speak it aloud made it real in a way he could not ignore. "Even if I believe you," he whispered, "my squad will not. If they find you, there will be no chance for you." Her face grew pale at his words, but she did not look away. "Then hide me," she said with quiet strength, "even for a little while. That will be enough." He stared at her in silence, torn between reason and something deeper. His duty told him one thing, but his heart whispered another. He did not understand why her words touched him so strongly. Perhaps it was because they both carried the same emptiness. Perhaps it was because in her trembling voice, he heard the sound of someone who wanted not to be an enemy, but to be seen. Finally, he gave a short nod. "I will not tell them." Her eyes widened. A mix of relief and disbelief. A soft breath escaped her lips, almost like a prayer. "Thank you, human." The soldier felt uneasy, as though the ground beneath him had shifted. He had made a choice that could not be undone. If his squad discovered her, it would place both of them in danger. Yet, strangely, he did not feel regret. Instead, there was a quiet warmth, a sense that for the first time in a long while, he was not entirely alone. The morning stretched on slowly. He shared a small piece of his food ration with her. She accepted it carefully, as though it was more than food, as though it was proof of something greater. She ate in silence, and for the first time since he had found her, she smiled. It was faint, fragile, but it was there. That smile unsettled him more than her whisper had. It was a smile that made her seem less like the enemy and more like someone he had known all his life, though he had never seen her before. He looked away quickly, but the image stayed with him. As the hours passed, he began to worry. His squad had been moving through the area often. If they searched here, they would find her. He told himself again and again that he had done enough. that he should leave her to her own fate. But when he looked at her, sitting there with that faint glow in her eyes, he knew he could not. The soldier stood and extended a hand. She looked at it, then at him, unsure. "We have to move," he said, quietly. "If they come here, you won't survive. You'll follow me. Stay close. Don't make a sound." For a moment, she did not move, as though she feared it was another test. But then, slowly, she reached out and placed her hand in his. Her skin was cool, softer than he expected. When she stood, her balance faltered, but she held on to him, steadying herself. And so they walked, side by side, two souls who should never have met, stepping into a path that neither of them could have imagined. The soldier knew the risk was great. The alien woman knew her life now rested in his hands. But together they shared one fragile truth. In the emptiness of their worlds, they had found each other. The sun was low in the sky when the soldier finally allowed them to rest. They had walked quietly for hours, moving through broken paths and silent ruins. The alien woman followed close behind, her steps light but unsure, as though each one was a struggle. He noticed how often she looked around, scanning every shadow. She carried no weapon, no supplies, and yet she kept moving, as if her will alone pushed her forward. When they stopped, he set his pack down and watched her carefully. She sat on a flat stone, her glowing eyes dim in the fading light. He offered her water, and she accepted it with both hands, drinking slowly, as though even this small gift was more than she had expected. Neither spoke for a while. The silence between them was heavy, but not unfriendly. The soldier finally broke it. "You said you would give me a family," he said softly, the words still strange on his tongue. "What did you mean?" She lowered the water and looked at him. Her gaze was steady, though her voice trembled slightly. "I meant what I said. My kind has always lived in groups. We are not made to be alone. But they turned against me. They left me with nothing. I cannot return to them." She paused, her fingers curling against the cup. You are alone. Too, I saw it in your eyes the moment you found me. To broken lives can become something whole." The soldier felt his chest tighten. He wanted to dismiss her words, to tell her she knew nothing of him, yet she had touched a truth he had buried deep. He had lived so long without warmth, without anyone to call his own. Her words were simple, but they reached the place inside him that ached the most still. He frowned. "How can I trust what you say? You don't know me. You don't know what I have done." Her glowing eyes softened. "I don't need to know your past. I only need to know the person who lowered his weapon when he could have walked away. That was not the choice of an enemy." He looked away, uncomfortable with the weight of her words. His hand tightened on the strap of his pack. He told himself again that this was dangerous, that if his squad discovered her, they would both be in trouble. But then he remembered her trembling whisper, the way she had begged not for safety, but for a place beside him. It was not the request of a trickster. It was the cry of someone who had lost too much. Night fell around them. The soldier built a small fire, careful to keep the smoke low. She sat close, her eyes reflecting the flames. For the first time, he noticed the fine lines etched into her skin, glowing faintly in the light. They seemed to pulse with her breath, like living patterns. He had never seen anything like it. "What are those?" he asked quietly, pointing to the marks. She looked down at herself, as though surprised he had noticed. "They are part of me. My kind is born with them. They carry memory as strength, pieces of who we are. That is why I cannot go back. They wanted to take what I carry. They wanted me gone." The soldier felt a shiver run through him. He did not fully understand her words, but he knew they carried weight. She was not just another lost soul. There was something about her that was important, something others would chase. "Then you're in danger," he said softly, her head turned sharply toward him. "We both are. If they find me with you, they will not forgive it. But you stayed. You chose to walk with me. That means something now." The fire crackled between them. He stared into it, his mind restless. He had never imagined his path would bring him here, sitting beside an alien woman who spoke of family and carried secrets in her skin. He should have felt regret, but instead he felt something unfamiliar: purpose. She leaned closer, her voice a whisper barely above the sound of the fire. "If they find me, They will end you too. Do you understand? Her words sent a chill through him. He met her gaze and saw no deception there. Only truth. He nodded slowly. I understand. The night deepened. The soldier sat awake long after she had closed her eyes, her breathing soft and steady beside him. He watched the stars above, his thoughts tangled, his orders, his duty, his loyalty, they all pulled him one way, but the memory of her voice, her promise of family, pulled him another. For the first time in years, he was no longer certain who he was or where he was going. All he knew was that he could not leave her behind. In the stillness of that night, a quiet bond began to grow, unspoken but strong, weaving two lonely lives into one fragile thread of hope. The morning light crept across the ground as the soldier packed his things in silence. The alien woman sat nearby, her eyes watching him closely. Though she said nothing, she had slept little, and he could see the weariness in the way her shoulders bent. Yet there was also a quiet strength about her, as though even exhaustion could not take away her will to survive. They set off again, moving carefully through the ruins. The soldier kept his pace steady, his ears alert for any sound. He knew his squad was not far. If they saw him walking with her, there would be no way to explain. Every step felt heavier with the risk. After some time, he noticed her slowing. She stumbled once, and he reached out without thinking, steadying her with his hand. Her skin was cool, but there was a faint pulse beneath it, like soft energy moving through her. She looked up at him with tired eyes. You shouldn't stay with me, she whispered. It will only bring danger to you. He shook his head. It's too late for that. I already made my choice. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to argue, but no words came. Instead, she kept walking beside him, quiet and thoughtful. By noon, the soldier felt uneasy. The air was too still. He scanned the broken buildings around them, and that was when he saw marks in the dust. Footprints, not theirs, too many. Too fresh, his heart tightened. His squad had been here, searching. He motioned for her to stop. She froze, her glowing eyes darting to where he pointed. She understood immediately. They are looking for me, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. The soldier nodded grimly. His suspicions had been right. They were not safe. He thought quickly, guiding her toward a half-collapsed wall where they could rest in the shade. She sat against the stone, her face pale. They won't stop, she said. They will search until they find me. My kind gave them reason. He turned toward her, frowning. What reason? For a long moment, she was silent. Then she lifted her hand, showing the faint glowing lines across her skin. They pulsed lightly, as though responding to her touch. These marks, she said softly, they are more than decoration. They hold what I carry within me, knowledge, memory, power. My people want but could never control. I was chosen to protect it, but when I refused to give it, they cast me out. The soldier stared at the glowing patterns, trying to understand. He had thought they were strange markings, but now he realized they were something far greater. She was not just a lost wanderer, she was holding something her people would do anything to reclaim. That's why you begged me to let you live, he said slowly. She nodded, her eyes meeting his. Yes, because with you, I saw a chance. I cannot protect this alone. And you, she hesitated, her voice softening. You are stronger than you believe. He looked away, his jaw tight. He did not feel strong. He felt caught between impossible choices. His orders were clear, yet his heart was no longer steady with them. Protecting her was dangerous, but abandoning her now felt unthinkable. A sudden sound broke the silence, the faint hum of voices in the distance. His squad. They were close. The soldier's pulse quickened. He crouched low, signaling her to stay quiet. Together, they pressed against the wall, listening. Through the cracks, he saw them pass, armed men scanning the ground, their eyes sharp, their steps deliberate. One of them paused, kneeling to study the dirt. He pointed, and the others gathered. The soldier's chest grew heavy as he realized what they had found. Footprints, his own and hers. The alien woman's hand brushed against his arm, trembling. She leaned close, whispering so faintly it was almost lost in the air. They will follow us. If they find me, they will not forgive you either. He swallowed hard, staring at the prints that led toward their hiding place. They had only moments. Before the trail was clear, his mind raced. He had two choices: reveal her and protect himself, or keep her secret and risk everything. Her eyes searched his face, desperate yet calm, as though she already knew what his heart would decide. "You should leave me," she whispered again. "They will not stop until one of us is lost." The soldier shook his head slowly. His voice was low, firm, and filled with something she had not heard before. "No, we leave together." The footsteps grew louder. The squad was drawing closer. Dust rose with their approach, and the trail of footprints ended not far from where they hid. The soldier's hand tightened on his pack as he glanced at her. She sat still, glowing faintly in the shadows. Her gaze locked on him with a mixture of fear and trust. The air grew thick with suspense. At any moment, they would be discovered. And as the first shadow fell across the stones near them, the soldier realized there was no turning back. Whatever came next, their paths were now bound together. The night was quiet, but Ethan could not sleep. The alien woman's words kept echoing in his mind. Soft but heavy, "Don't let me go. If you leave me, I will have no one." It was strange to him how quickly her voice had settled into his thoughts, as if she had always been there. He turned his head slightly and saw her sitting by the small window, her silver eyes watching the stars. She looked both calm and lost, like someone waiting for something that might never come. Ethan sat up and asked softly, "Why do you keep looking outside?" She didn't turn at once. After a moment, she whispered, "I am listening. The stars speak to me. They remind me of my world and of what I have lost." Her tone was gentle, but there was sadness in it that pulled at his heart. He wanted to ask more, but before he could, she surprised him with a question. "Do you believe you were meant to find me?" The question froze him. He didn't know what to say. Meant to, it sounded like fate. He gave a nervous laugh, but she didn't smile. She waited for his answer, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Ethan sighed. "I don't know if I believe in fate, but I know I was in the right place at the right time." He paused and then added, "And I know I can't just leave you now." Something changed in her expression, something he could not name. It was not joy, not relief, but a mix of hope and fear. She finally turned to him and said, "If you choose to stay with me, you will see things no human has seen, but it will also change you forever." Ethan frowned. "Change me? How?" She lowered her eyes, as though she was afraid of his reaction. "My kind carries memories not just in our minds, but in our blood. When we bond, those memories pass on. If I stay close to you long enough, you will begin to see my world through my eyes. You will feel what I felt." He stared at her, not sure whether to be amazed or frightened. The idea of carrying someone else's life inside his own was overwhelming. But there was something about the way she spoke, so soft, so vulnerable, that made him want to protect her even more. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," he admitted honestly. She gave a small nod. "You don't have to be ready. You only have to choose once. After that, everything will follow." The air felt heavy, almost electric, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Ethan leaned back against the wall, his heart racing. He thought about his lonely life before she appeared, and how different it already felt just having her here. She had given him something no one else had: purpose. And then she whispered, so quietly he almost didn't hear, "If you let me, I will be your family, the one you never had." The words struck deep. For years, Ethan had buried the ache of being alone. Now, here was someone, not even human, offering him the very thing he thought impossible. But with the promise came questions. Why him? Why now? And what danger would follow if he accepted? Because in her eyes, he also saw something else: fear. Not fear of him, but of something beyond the stars. Something still searching for her. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, taking a long breath. When he opened them, he met her gaze and whispered, "Then stay, whatever comes. We'll face it together." For the first time, she smiled, a real smile, soft and glowing, like light breaking through clouds. But even in that smile, Ethan could sense the weight of secrets she had not yet shared. Secrets that could change not only his life, but perhaps the fate of many others. As the night stretched on, Ethan knew one thing for certain: his life was no longer his own. The bond had already begun, And somewhere, far away in the endless sky, something stirred, as if awakened by his choice. The ship drifted through the stars, silent and slow, as if it carried a secret too heavy to reveal. Inside, Daniel sat across from her, the alien woman who had once whispered the words that changed his life. Now she no longer looked frightened or desperate. Instead, her gaze held something deeper, something he could not name, and it made his chest tighten every time their eyes met. The hum of the ship filled the silence between them. For days, they had been traveling together, escaping everything that had tried to separate them. Daniel could not understand why he felt calm with her presence. When the universe itself seemed to want them apart, she turned her head, studying the faint lights of distant stars, before speaking in a quiet voice. "You still don't understand what I meant," she said softly. "When I asked you not to leave me, I wasn't just asking for safety. I was asking for something more." Daniel's breath caught. He had thought about those words since the moment she said them, yet now they carried a weight he wasn't ready for. "Then tell me," he whispered, leaning closer. "Tell me what you meant." She lowered her gaze, as if the words she carried were fragile and dangerous. "You gave me something no one else ever did. You looked at me not as a stranger, not as a burden, but as if I was meant to belong somewhere, with you. I felt what family might feel like. That is why I asked you to spare me not just my life, but my heart." The words settled in Daniel's mind, heavy yet tender. He thought about the loneliness that had followed him for years, the empty space in his life where family should have been. And now, here she was, filling that emptiness with nothing but her presence and her voice. Moments passed in silence, and the stars outside seemed to slow, as if waiting for his answer. Daniel finally reached out, his hand brushing hers. She flinched, at first, then allowed it, her fingers curling gently around his. "You're not alone anymore," he said, his voice steady but soft. "If you want a family, then maybe we can build one together. Not because of promises or fear, but because I want it to." Her lips trembled as a small smile broke through, the first true smile he had seen from her since the day they met. It wasn't just relief, it was hope. For the first time, Daniel realized the story between them was not about survival alone. It was about finding what both of them had been searching for all along: connection, belonging, and the chance to start again. The ship continued its journey into the unknown, carrying them not as strangers, but as something more. The universe outside was endless and uncertain, but inside that small space, two lives had finally found a reason to move forward together. And though neither of them knew where the path would lead, they knew one truth: they were no longer broken, pieces drifting apart. They had become something whole, something like family.